Hello, it's Jason with Hardy Life Outdoors. I am in Southeast Ohio, and I had big plans for today. Today I was going to go do some herbicide application back on the Habitat Oasis project, and I ran into some hitches that prevented me from doing the work. I've said a number of times in my videos that I can't tell you the number of times that things don't go as planned. So as I was trying to figure out what I was going to do today, since I could not do the herbicide, I decided I would do a video giving you some tips based on what I've learned over time on doing herbicide application and how to make things go smoother for yourself. As I mentioned, I think the number one thing I say is things don't always go as planned, and what I'm realizing is I've got a plan, but I've not done anything to prepare for that plan. So I've made a lot of notes on my phone, so I'm gonna be referencing it a number of times. So I want to make sure I don't miss stuff. But I'm gonna run through several things to try to make your process go smoother. First off, I'm gonna talk about pre-planning. One of my pet peeves when I'm on a Facebook page or a chat group about food plots and herbicide use is the guy who says, when someone asks for help, their answer is read the label. The label, most of the labels on these are long, they're overwhelming, there's so much details, they're hard to understand. I'm not going to say you shouldn't read the label. I still think you should read the label, but I think it helps to have somebody that's gone through and picked out some of the details from the label that they can share with you. But I'm going to start off by telling you, read the label. And the way I would read the label, a lot of that label, when you start looking, it breaks down the herbicide into different types of application. You know, it's going to talk about aerial application. Chances are you're not doing that. It's going to talk about different species that you might be applying to. Find what you're looking for, and you can ignore a lot of that label. There's a lot of stuff that won't apply to you. So start off with that. One of the things that you want to make sure before you show up to do the work, do you have the right personal protective equipment? I've got heavy black gloves. I've got glasses. Read and see, you know, what do you need to have, because you don't want to start messing with stuff, splash it in your eyes. You know, if you're back in the field and you splash it in your face, you probably don't have a way to rinse it. So have PPE with you. I'm just a big fan of doing things safely, because you don't want your hobby to impact your job and your day-to-day life. Check out the warnings. Are there warnings on there that talk about getting it on your skin, in your eyes if you ingest it? Almost all of them have it. Just something to be aware of. Look for environmentals. So, you know, should it be a certain temperature out while you're applying it? What about rain? What about wind? Oftentimes these things are talked about, and they're good things to be familiar with. Then start looking at the area where you're going to apply. How large is the area? Do you have a quarter acre? Do you have a half acre? Do you have a full acre? Multiple acres? Figure out how large the area it is. You know, you can get a measuring wheel and go around and measure so you know what it is, and you're going to find out, you know, why it's so important to know that here in a minute. Figure out what you're trying to kill. You know, are you just going in with Roundup and you're trying to kill everything, or do you have a clover field and you really just want to kill the grasses or kill the broadleaf? Think about what you want to kill, and think about what you don't want to kill. You know, it's important to understand, you know, what's there that you don't want to kill. Have you planted apple trees or some other plants that you don't want to kill? You want to make sure that you know how that herbicide impacts those and whether you need to protect them. So that's my first step of pre-plan, figure out what you're doing. Next up is going to be purchasing what you need. And this is why I mentioned measuring and knowing how big of an area you're going to treat. If you've read the label and you know how much herbicide you need, you can buy what you need and avoid potentially having to dispose of a bunch of it. That's what happened to me today. I bought a herbicide a couple years ago. I applied it the first year, but I bought a bunch of it thinking I was going to do a bigger area. I really didn't get into the details of how much I would need, but I've got probably almost $100 of herbicide down there that has separated, and it's solidified to where I'm not going to be able to use it. So I'm going to make a phone call on Monday to see if there's anything I can do to save it, but I don't think I'm going to be able to. So you want to be able to purchase the amount you need. Know the storage details. Are you storing it in a garage, in a barn, in your basement? You know, can it get cold? Can it get warm? What are the conditions that you should store it in? I've not seen any on the label that say don't allow them to freeze, but it's worth reading that label and understanding, are there restrictions, because you don't want to spend a bunch of money on herbicide and have it go bad. Get a surfactant if needed. So some items require surfactant. You know, this is from Farmworks, this is Tractor Supply. Have a surfactant. You don't want to get ready to apply herbicide and realize you don't have it. And what a surfactant is going to do is it's going to help that chemical stick to the plant better and give you a better result. So know whether you need a surfactant. Some need it, some don't, some have it already mixed in. Get a good tank cleaner. When you're done, you're going to want to clean your tank, especially if you're using a broad spectrum herbicide that's going to kill everything. You want to get that out of there so that the next time you're treating, you don't put that herbicide on everything and kill everything in your plot. So get a good cleaner. Again, this is a Tractor Supply product. I'll try to put links at the end of the video or in the comments of the video for where you can order these products online. I've used them for years. I like them. Do you need a dye? Geez, I'm about to fall down here. Pick up a dye. That helps you understand where you've sprayed. Not really something you need on a big tank sprayer like this, at least that I know of. But if you're using a hand sprayer and you're spraying tree trunks, trying to kill an invasive species, it will show you where you've sprayed and help as it dries for you to know what's been sprayed. So do you need a dye? I mentioned purchasing the right amount. This is a glyphosate bottle. I've got the label sitting here. This is 2.5 gallons. If you've got a product you use all the time and you're going to use a lot of it, go ahead and buy the big jug. Just because it's cheaper by the gallon to buy a big jug, if you're not going to use it, learn from the lesson I learned, which is don't buy a bunch, leave it on the shelf, and then not be able to use it when you need it, because that's a big bummer to me knowing I got to go buy some. I also have to figure out how to dispose of it, because you don't just pour that stuff out. So I'm making some calls on Monday to figure that out. So that's kind of step 2. Purchase what you need. Have everything you need. Step 3 is, as you're purchasing, and this kind of goes with step 2, look for generic products. So glyphosate, the name brand is Roundup. So you can go buy Roundup, you're going to pay more. Glyphosate is the generic brand. Most of these herbicides have a generic brand. You can buy those and save money. Having said Roundup, I know that triggers a lot of people. This video is not about what herbicides are safe, what herbicides are not safe. That's for you to decide. Follow the instructions. So, don't leave me comments telling me about polluting the earth and on and on and on. You make your decisions, I'll make mine, and each person can make their own. I'm not here to judge, and really not looking for you to judge me. So look for store brands. Most of what you see here are store brands because they are cheaper. If you go to Tractor Supply, if you go to now all of them, Rural King, Farm and Fleet, they're all over the place. You're gonna find some better prices than if you go buy name brands. All right, let's go on to the next thing. This is also stuff that's gonna come from the label. Know the application requirements. So are there weather conditions? Does the ground need to be dry? Does the ground need to be wet? Does it need to be, what if it's windy? How windy can it be? What's the temperature? Minimum temperature, maximum temperature. There's all kinds of things around the weather that you're going to want to check on and make sure you understand before you go out to spray. What kind of conditions do you need the plants to be in? Some things you need them if you're applying it and it's going to adhere to the plant and it's going to kill on contact. You need that plant actively growing. So you don't want to go out and brush hog your field and then apply the applicant, because when you brush hog, everything goes into shock and it quits absorbing. So will it kill it? Yes. Will it kill it as well? Maybe not. Height. Different herbicides will tell you, spray before it's 12 inches tall, spray before it's 18 inches tall. It's going to give you plant height. It's also going to give you the height, like in this case with the sprayer, it tells me do not spray the product I was going to spray, higher than 48 inches off the ground. So, it's going to give you an idea, do I need to be down low? Do I need to be up high? Obviously, the higher you go, the broader your spray pattern is going to be. So, make sure you understand what the requirements are. How much do I need to use? Again, that goes back up to the top. So the product I was using today required 3 quarts per acre. So that's 32 ounces in a quart, so 96 ounces. Have a measuring cup ready so that you can do it and you're not guessing at it. You don't want to misuse a herbicide. When you do that, you risk creating plants that are resistant to that herbicide. So if it requires 1 quart per acre, and you put it on at half that rate, it may stunt the plants, but not kill them. And what you've done then is you've created a plant that is going to have battled back and potentially is going to be resistant to that herbicide. We don't want that. How often can you spray? So there are products, and this goes into the how much. There are products that limit how much you can spray in a season, how often you can spray in a season. So it may tell you, no more than 2 applications per year, no more than a quart each application. You'll want to know, what those application levels are. Part of what you can end up with is if there's a residual effect to the herbicide, it will prevent your seeds from germinating. So, I didn't put that on here, but I should have. Make sure with the product you're using, you understand the residual impact. Some things you can plant right away. Other times you need to give that chemical a couple weeks to work into the ground and basically dissipate and become neutral so that your seeds can neutralize. So make sure you know, is there a residual impact? So that is the application requirements. The next thing, getting into your sprayer, whether you're using a pump sprayer, a sprayer on the back of a tractor, or a sprayer that sits in the back of your ATV, make sure you know how to use it and test it. One of the issues I ran into last year, I went to get the sprayer out and I filled it all up. I was ready to go. Then when I went out to spray, I had stuff running out the bottom of it. I had accidentally left some water. I didn't accidentally. There was water in the filter that I had not drained out at the end of the season. It froze, it cracked a fitting. So basically that was the end of my spraying for that day. I had to go buy parts. These are the things that cause, when you're not at your property all the time, it brings the whole process to a halt. And if it's on a weekend, you may or may not be able to get parts. So test it, make sure you know how to use it. Make sure that if it's got pressure settings, you know how to adjust the pressure up and down, because different chemicals may recommend different chemical rates. Know the width of your spray pattern. One of the things, I was just reading this recently, it talked about people over applying because they're overlapping their spray pattern. So because you drive across the field and this thing is spraying 20 feet wide, you turn around to come back, everybody's worried about missing, so they tend to want to overlap. But each time you overlap, you've basically put that application on that area at twice the rate. So you potentially are creating an area that may not grow plants well in the future. Calibration, that's a word that scares a lot of people. And you can get really sophisticated on how you do this, but check your sprayer. There may be instructions with it on how to calibrate. I'm going to be honest with you. The way I've done it is trial and error. I've gone out, and if you don't want to go out with chemical and potentially waste chemical, fill up your sprayer. This is a 60 gallon. Put 30 gallons in it. Go out and measure an acre and drive that acre and see how much has been used. I know that this tractor, at the speed I drive, and this sprayer, the way I've got it set up, I'm going to put down about 20 gallons of water per acre. So if I need to put 3 quarts of chemical down, I put in 20 gallons, I put in 3 quarts. If I'm going to do 2 acres, I put in 40 gallons and 6 quarts. I have a pretty good sense for the rate at which I'm putting that down. Last thing, check and see if your sprayer has any kind of filter screens on it. Because what you may find is that your spray pattern is diminishing because your screens are doing what they're supposed to do. They're picking up junk that's in either in your chemical or in your water, or has gotten in your tank somehow. And your screen is getting clogged. So you want to know where those screens are and how to quickly and easily clean those out to keep your spray going. Last item, give your herbicide time to work. A lot of people are rushing. They're like, I drive 3 hours to my property. I need to be able to spray and plant the same day. I need to be able to spray and till the same day. There's all kinds of things people are trying to do same day. If you don't give the herbicide time to work, time to neutralize, whatever the issue is, you're going to have a worse result. If you go out with glyphosate and you spray a field and then you immediately come in and till it, you're probably not going to get a very good kill. It may look good when you're done because you've sprayed it and you've tilled it all up and it's chopped up, but that plant didn't die. All you did was chop it up, and you probably wasted your time on the herbicide because it's not been absorbed all the way into the root system. If you come out, and a lot of people spray glyphosate and they will seed immediately. I don't want to even say there's multiple schools of thought on it. It says you can do that. I do know somebody who did a test. He did 2 flower pots, put some seeds on each one, watered this one, put a little glyphosate on this one, and what he ended up with was a much lower germination rate on the one where he had sprayed. So, you know, try to find time to be able to separate those activities. And the other thing is just give it time. Give it time. When you spray with glyphosate, if you expect to see a big difference the next day or the next day or the next day, you're probably not going to. You will see really good yellowing in about 2 weeks. And so give yourself time to let that field die back. That was kind of I say quick, I don't know how long I took there, but a run through of a lot of items that will help you be more effective with spraying herbicides and creating food plots, your garden, you know, whatever it is, wherever you're working. These are some things to think about. Plan ahead, take the time, do the job right, and you're going to have much better results. So I hope that was helpful. If you're interested in, you know, what I'm doing with the tractor, I do not have the 1025R out here today. I've got the 4052R. If you're interested in hunting, if you're interested in habitat management, hit like, share, and subscribe to the channel, because I keep content rolling about once a week with what's going on here in Southeast Ohio. So I like to say outdoors is always in season. Thanks for joining me. See you next time.